Effed at 47 is the name or the title of this video, and I mean it. That's exactly how I've felt, effed at the age of 47. But I'm going to explain to you why I started the year feeling like that and why 5 months later I feel completely different. And I'm going to share with you in this video exactly what changes I've made in my life to suddenly feel in a better place. And so to help you with this, I'm going to timestamp on the video here on screen and also in the description down below each major section of this video, because if you're a viewer that's been with me since the start, you'll know about why I started this YouTube channel and some of the topics that I've covered. So for you, you might just want to skip closer to the end because you think I've heard a lot of this, John. I know your backstory. But over the last week or so, I've gained about 1,500 new subscribers. So welcome to all of those subscribers. Some of you may have joined because you've heard me talking about the HMRC or BBC licence fees and you're thinking, who is this guy? What's his backstory and why should I carry on listening? So that's what I'm going to cover in this video. It's a bit of a recap from where I started in January of this year through to now and what I've done differently. So feel free to use the timestamps, jump to wherever is most relevant for you in this video, but I hope that you might just find it useful. And again, recapping why I started this year feeling like I was a bit effed and questioning my life, and why I feel right now that there are options for me moving forward and some hope and changes in my physicality. So let's talk about that, okay? So let's jump back. 2024, January of 2024, I started to experience chest pains. I was having a tightness around the heart, and I felt like, despite being a relatively physical person, regular gym attendance, long distance bike cycling, I suddenly found myself feeling like I was potentially going to have, well, it felt like a heart attack at times, to be honest. So I went to see my local GP. Good morning, how you doing? I went to see my local GP and they sent me to the hospital and I had some checks done. It was discovered that I had a condition known as pericarditis. Now, some of the sharper minds that might be watching might recognise that because it's been fairly prevalent over the last few years. And the answer to the question in your mind that you're thinking right now is yes, it would be a side effect of something that many of us had to go down the path of taking over the last couple of years. What I mean by that is, vaccinations. My GP said to me this may be a side effect of vaccinations. So unfortunately, I was in a working position for an international business at that point. I was given very little alternative, but if I was going to carry on my job that was paying my bills at home, I was going to need to show evidence that I could internationally travel. So I found myself in a predicament, not wanting something, very, very adamantly not wanting something, but recognising that I've got a wife to keep and a house to maintain and a life, to try and finance. So I found myself in a quandary. I regret that decision. There's nothing I can do about it, but I found myself in hospital in January, ECGs, pericarditis. Now, and then in May of that year, I got a telephone call from a relative that I had been dreading. And that was that my father had taken a short run of ill health, a man who also at the time was dealing with pericarditis, along with a number of my close friends, which was an alarm bell going off inside my head, right? As I'm sure it was to many of you. But I found myself then having to rush home from England to Scotland, my natural home, to find my father in hospital, where he lasted another 4 days before he unfortunately passed away. Now, my father was a very big inspiration to me. He was my parental focus. My father raised me from about the age of 8 or 9 years old as a solo parent and instilled a lot of hard work ethic and also just who I am as a person. So to watch my dad pass away in hospital it had a deeply lasting effect on me and will to this point. I am now about to approach his anniversary on the 27th of May. He passed away last year. So I come out the back of then dealing with my father, and at the time I was working for a German technology business, and it was a high pressure position. I was a European sales manager on a large 6-figure salary. So I've worked from being a council estate kid. I didn't go to university, I didn't go to college, I went straight into employment, and I've grafted and worked my arse off for 31 years to find myself in a senior position. But I'll tell you, the pressures of that job was a lot, and I was feeling it last year before all of the other things that kicked in. I was feeling it. And to give you an idea of just what that job was like, my father died on the 24th of May. I might have said the 27th a minute ago, I'll come back to that. The 24th of May. The 27th was a bank holiday Monday. So he passed away technically on a Friday. Monday was a bank holiday, and I had no idea how to manage all of this. But I'll tell you where my job was at. I'll show you on screen now. I got a text message from a colleague who said, "Sorry about your father. Muscle emoji, love heart or thumb up. Fancy joining a work telephone call so that we can chat about sales?" I just thought, wow, this is the world I live in. I work in a sales team where your dad dies, and within a couple of days of that, colleagues are willing to just text you to ask you if you're willing to join a sales call. It was that moment I kind of realised, I'm not sure this life is for me anymore. So I get back to work, and I was really struggling. That would be me going back maybe about July time. I was finding it a big weight to carry, suddenly going back to managing a sales team again and suddenly being chased about numbers. And at the same time, I'd only just buried my father. I went from sitting at my father's bedside to scattering his ashes on the grass at a graveyard in 4 weeks. 4 weeks my life changed immensely, and I dealt with all of that, carried the weight of managing the funeral and the arrangements and everything on behalf of the family. And I felt like I completed my duties, and then it just pretty much kind of broke me. But I was trying to smile the whole way through it and get back to work and get on with things, but I wasn't doing well. And then all of a sudden the company that I'd spent 4 years working for then decided there was going to be redundancies. And I was one of those people that was chosen. And when I asked the reasons, because I'd had a fantastic record of reviews and was tagged as a potential leader in the organisation from the position that I was in, suddenly I was being tagged as, "Oh, I've got to go." And when I asked the question, I got one answer back: salary. And salary's too good and you've got to go. So, towards the end of the year, I find myself grieving for my father, still dealing with my health issues, and now I'm also going out of a job. So, the weight of all of that simply broke me. And so in late November, I found myself back in hospital again, this time suffering a massive panic attack, just from trying to process everything that was going on. Sorry, I'm under a bridge here, so it might get a bit dark. Come out in the sunlight in a minute. So I find myself in hospital, having a panic attack, which I thought was a heart attack. I was there. Ended up in there twice. Good morning, how you all doing? You all right? All these doggies out for a walk. So I found myself back in hospital twice, and there was a whole host of things going on. I effectively also had a kidney stone, well, 4 actually, that I wasn't aware of till I had scans, and I was collapsing in the emergency room and panic attack and everything else that came along with it. So in terms of how the end of the year was going, it was disastrous. I was not sure I was going to survive. Still trying to deal with my dad. So I went to my doctors and I said, I need help. I need some support. I might need some counselling. And so they said to me, okay, we'll get that arranged for you. And I waited an appointment for counselling. But the start of the year rolled round, January. My birthday's in January. I was now finding myself on gardening leave, out of a job that I had loved and put all of my efforts into for 4 years. I had been on a run of 31 years in employment in total, and now I was sitting on my butt at home, depressed, gaining weight, feeling just like a bit of a mess, to be honest, and wondering if this was it. Midlife crisis, no goals or aspirations, and just wondering what I could do about it. But I'll say this, I've lived my life in employment as a problem solver. I've always been very good at taking an issue and building a plan and seeing a way out. And so I applied that logic to my own life, and the first thing that I thought was, I need to do something different. I need to create something for myself that gives me a bit of motivation. And so on the 9th of January, I grabbed this camera that I'm talking to you now on, and I went for a walk outside my house. And that walk started to change everything for me. And so I posted a video that day titled about being at the bottom, feeling like I was a bit hopeless, but how I was going to try and look at this year, 2025, moving forward. And that video just absolutely blew up. It's currently sitting on 93,000 views. Now, as a small YouTuber, there's a rumour that there's a glass ceiling where videos do not go over 100,000 views. It is rare for a small YouTuber. And I saw it in action there. I hit 93 and the video just literally stopped. Everybody it was being sent out to, it was over. But for me, it was like a springboard. I had decided that I would start YouTube to give myself something to do, to give my mental focus and explore my creativity. And so from that one video, I was able to be monetized, and from there on, earning from YouTube videos that I would post. So from the very first video, and I cannot tell you how blessed, how thankful I feel from all of that. And honestly, if I was being genuine with you, I would say I felt a little bit of a brush from my father there. My father was a photographer. He was into football photography and horse racing and all sorts, and he had a little YouTube channel. I'd encouraged him to start about Airdrie Football Club and a GoPro in the back of a net, literally just filming the goals come in, and he loved it, and I helped him with that. And I've posted occasionally to YouTube, never talking, never like this, never me and you having a conversation on a canal walk. That just seemed like, go and actually just talk, share your feelings, kind of bare yourself to the world, never mind 93,000 people. That seemed like a big barrier, but mentally, that's where I'm really good at getting over these kind of barriers and just making stuff happen and then dealing with what comes out the other side of it. So to go monetized on YouTube, you need 4,000 followers, subscribers, 1,000 followers. People probably panicking there. 1,000 followers and 4,000 watch hours from your video. That first video that I posted hit all those metrics. And that was just like, wow, something I thought would take months, maybe even years, was done on the first video. So when I say that was a bit of a fluke, a little bit of grace from my father and the help and support of all of you who just came to watch, cared and got involved. So that felt like a springboard. And then from there, over the next couple of months, as I remained on gardening leave till the end of February, I just made content, just talked about what was going on with me. Some of those topics really resonated. I'll come on to one of them in a moment. But it felt like a new beginning. Felt like me, for the first time in my life, being able to talk about things that I cared about. I wasn't representing a company. I wasn't trying to sell somebody's products. I was selling myself. Just me, my personality, John. talking about some of the topics that I care about, and that was the start of it. Good morning, how are you doing? You all right? Yeah. So the channel started and gained momentum. Many of you that might have seen those videos along the way, and to others, this is still new. And so then came into 2025, and how have I got to where I am now? And what have I changed? Well, I talked in one of those videos that I had given up alcohol. I gave up alcohol a couple of years ago because I was just finding myself in a bit of a spiral with it. I was using it regularly and I wasn't feeling particularly great. And so I decided to give it up to see if I could improve things like inflammation and my sleep habits. And I'm glad to say that that really was the case. I cannot recommend it enough, the idea of going booze-free, not scaling back in some way, because I'm just going to tell you, one drink is enough to cause inflammation in your body. So I abstain. I try my best. I'm not perfect. I've said before, I've faltered where I've been like, oh, I'm at a music festival, I wouldn't mind a cider, and then I regret it. I regret it because I know what it's doing to my body. So I would highly recommend, if you get the opportunity to quit drinking, cannot explain to you the benefits mentally and within your body you feel when you get to 3 months and 6 months of being alcohol free. So I started taking some supplements. I watched a video by a doctor called Rhonda Patrick, who I'd seen back in the day on Joe Rogan's, talking about supplements, vitamins, the things that you should take in order to improve yourself. And so I ordered these 5 vitamins, and it's literally vitamin D, omega-3, a multivitamin, magnesium, and sulfratane. Right, I started taking the 5 of these, I ordered them, and I just thought, you know, I'm getting aches and pains, I'm waking up out of bed, I feel a bit knackered. And so I started taking these 5 and I've started to feel better. So I'll leave details down below of what those 5 vitamins are. They're just general supplements that you can pick up anywhere, right? Holland and Barrett, Amazon, whatever else. I'm not here to sell you specific vitamins, I'm just telling you. I listened to a professional, a woman that I admire and rate in terms of her content and output and everything else. There's like 6 volunteers here from the canal that I've got to walk by, so this is this moment where you need to do the YouTuber thing, walking by people. Good morning, how you doing? You all right? Good morning, to be out working here, right? Yeah, ah, lovely, nice. Towpath renovations, there you go. It's the volunteers of the canal. Good morning, everyone. You all right? So, 5 supplements that I started taking, just for nothing more than to try and look after myself, right? I'm Scottish. We're not the best at these things. Glaswegians. I used to say to my dad, taking vitamins? Ah, nah, son, no bothering with that. Right, hopefully that noise isn't too bad disrupting you here whilst I carry on this conversation here. So 5 vitamins I started taking. I'll tell you what else I shifted to. I read up on creatine, one of the cheapest and most effective supplements on the market. Typically seen as a kind of bodybuilding supplement, but actually, especially if you're in your 40s and beyond, it is very good for your muscles, and it is very good for your brain, for helping you with your cognitive abilities. People see creatine as, oh, a man's supplement, you retain water. Not true. Yvonne and I both take this supplement now daily. We started at the beginning of the year. We started increasing the dosage that we're taking. I take it in water in the morning. I take it in my coffee, my black coffee in the morning. And again, I just think that if you're in your 40s or beyond, you're starting to feel those aches and pains. You know, the title of the video, FK'd at 47, just feeling like things are, you're getting old. That's exactly why I decided to start taking the creatine, so I would recommend it. Now, beyond that, in May, I started a May motivation, just talking to my viewers about trying to use this month as a way to improve ourselves. Again, I had slipped a little bit. I'd gone back to drinking fizzy drinks and I was getting a big belly. I was getting a big middle-aged belly. I think my stomach hates carbs, or it hates gluten, and it hates fizzy drinks. So when I returned to drinking water, or lemon water, which is good for, especially if you have things like kidney stones, and just clearing out your system, a bit of a detoxification in the morning. I drink a lemon water every morning and I put my creatine inside it. And then once I've finished that, about an hour or so later, I have a black coffee. I try and take one a day, and I don't try and consume any coffee after 12 o'clock because it just screws with my sleep. But when I started the main motivation, I wanted to lose a bit of weight. I normally naturally sit somewhere around 13 stone. I'm 6'1" tall, and I sit around 13 stone when I feel light and agile. But I was drifting up to 14 and a bit, and I'll show on the screen, I'll give you my stats from the beginning of May, where I was basically up to 14 stone, and I changed my diet. I went back to eating carnivore, predominantly meat. I would eat bacon and probably the likes of a little bit of avocado in the morning, avocado for its fats, but typically a bit of bacon in the morning. Lunch, I'd maybe have a bit of mince or a hamburger. At dinner, I'm eating like a steak cooked with butter, and that's really healthy for me. And see, within a matter of days, I could feel my belly returning to normal, like I was light. I did carnivore for 2 years back in 2020 when I started to give up alcohol, and I felt amazing. My brain was so sharp, full of creativity. And when I start introducing sugar, or a booze drink, I just start to become lethargic. My sleep starts to get messed up. So carnivore is where I've gone for the last couple of weeks, and the weight started to come down, but more importantly, physically, I've just felt better. So carnivore diet is what I've gone back to. And then of course, you know, the YouTube success. This year, since starting, I've posted 71 videos, and as of this week, I'm just off of 500,000 views, and I've earned a very small amount of revenue. Encouragingly, it's growing, and I've done all of it off of my own back. Instead of selling other people's products, I've sold myself, who I am, and just talked to you like we're out on this canal walk now, sharing a few conversational topics. But the YouTube success has just given me this crazy motivation now where I'm full of ideas and business concepts and how I can maybe avoid going back to work. Good morning, how you doing? Hello. Tiny little dog. How I can avoid going back to work, because I'll tell you, one thing that's become clear in my mind is that I don't want to go back into the rat race. I don't want to rejoin society's norms of the weekly grind, because I've felt broken by the system. I felt let down. When I told you I went to see the doctor, they referred me for counselling. And in April, so I went in November, and in April came the appointment. You wouldn't want to be in a rush for help in this country, would you? But I went on a call with a specialist, and it turned out the doctor had booked me in for cognitive behavioural therapy, not counselling. So I waited from November to April for counselling to deal with the feelings of my dad passing, and suddenly I was getting cognitive behavioural therapy, and the woman that I spoke to was like, "John, this isn't for you. You just need to talk to somebody about the passing of your father, not about how you mentally process things." So that appointment ended, and I've just found myself now thinking, what's the point? I feel like I'm dealing with myself at this. And that was also a bit of a catalyst, right, where I've realised nobody is coming to help you. Nobody. I looked around and I thought, from the beginning of the year, please somebody save me, somebody offer me a job, somebody help me. And then I had that mental shift where it was like, nobody comes to help you, John, you got to help yourself, which is why I started the channel, which is why I gave up drinking, which is why I looked after my own diet, which is why I've taken my own actions to look after myself and my wife, of course. So the channel has been a success, but it's also kickstarted more thoughts within my head. I've started other channels that I haven't shared with you just because I wanted to just test myself creatively. One of those channels that I'm going to tell you about is called Still Tones. And I created it because I wanted to have a way to express myself about the loss of my father. And so I created music. I've been involved in the music industry years ago when I was younger, DJing, production and all that stuff. I went back to making some music and I made a channel and I created the content and the images and everything, the sentiment behind it. And it was really a sleep channel, somewhere that I could put some music on and fall asleep to, because I found those really useful over the last months of dealing with stress, being able to detach from reality a little bit and just enjoy some peaceful music. So I decided to create that. I'll put a link down below. I've posted 2 videos. It's not monetized or anything. It was really, the goal was just somewhere for me to put some creativity, which I've found in abundance since going out of work, because now I just don't care about somebody else's company that doesn't care about me. This was about caring for myself. So I'll link that channel down below, and if you're of interest to it, you just want to see what's this guy up to, you can go and have a look at it. But for me, it was about visually creating a representation of the gap left from my father passing. So that's the reasoning behind the imagery that I post in the video. And the music is for a way for me to just share some calmness, some stillness that I found in the passing of my father. And so now I find myself here making this recap video, which is lengthy. So I appreciate if you've watched this the whole way through, thank you. Subscribers count, right? But the most important metric here on YouTube is watch time. It's how much you pay attention from start to finish to the end of the video. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Thank you for listening to me. I hope there's something you can take away from all of this, some kind of encouragement. And so I find myself here now making this because I want to tell you that I feel good. It's not every day, it's not perfect, but I wake up with the right attitude, thinking I've got a channel to run, I've got money to try and make, I've got ideas to explore. And now we get to the last part. This year, it's my wife and I's 30th anniversary, and we had big hopes and dreams of this year coming into it. Money behind us from a job, and a family round about that cares. And then suddenly it was like a whirlwind, right? But, and here's the but, we've decided that at the beginning of this year we said, let's do something exciting. Well, Yvonne has applied to take a 1-year career break from her job, and it has now been approved. And we are actively selling everything within our household. We've been on eBay and Vinted, and I'll post another update video on where we're at with that coming up in the next few days. But we are actively selling everything, and I've decided that we're going to exit the UK and going off on an adventure. So this channel will progress into following how and when and where we've got to going forward. But I've had it here. I feel let down by the system. I feel like from a government standpoint, we're not getting supported, and I feel like me personally, I need a change. I feel like the bad side of everything that I've gone through kind of sits here, and people will say, oh, you're running away, you've got to try and defend this country. My reasons for wanting an escape are more than just the current climate of the UK. It's beyond that, but it is also part of it, so I can't shy away from that. And where are we going to go? Can't tell you because we haven't made any plans. We are literally, for the first time in our lives, going to just go, see where we end up. But the plan is to sell everything that we've got to make that happen, and that's in action now. So if you've been here since January following me, that's the status update. Sales, selling the house stuff is in full effect. The target goal is to have left the country in August. We have a wedding commitment and a couple of concerts that we are determined to go to. Oasis at Wembley. We'll go to those concerts and then we're gone. And the plan is to go as light as physically possible for the two of us. And Yvonne's job is open-ended, that if we need to come back, we can. And if we can make this last, that we don't need to come back, who knows? Never say never, right? Okay, that's a lot that I've covered. I've talked about why I started the channel, talked about my health. I'm feeling much better, looking after myself. Talked about the passing of my father and the effect of that, coming up to the year anniversary of it, 24th of May. And I feel like I'm celebrating it for him this time rather than feeling down about it. Changed my diet, taking supplements, making this content for you. Started a new channel. I'm earning a little bit of money and I feel like a new world is opened for me. So thank you all for giving me that. Now, if you need a little bit of help on all of this, or you want to read back through what I've just said, because I can be one of these people that I can listen to stuff like this and I don't always process it. Sometimes I need to visually see it. I've created a document with everything that I've just spoken about. Just a Word document, PDF, with the supplements, with an example of the carnivore diet, hydration, talked about a couple of those things, and I'll put a link in the description. So if you want it, you can go get it to see what I've been talking about. It doesn't cost anything, it's free of charge. If you would like, that you find it useful, you can buy me a coffee on the Ko-Fi platform where the document is available. But if you think, no, I just want to have a read at this, you're welcome to it, right? I've tried to create this channel with transparency and honesty. I'm not wearing my sunglasses today because I want you to see the whites of my eyes, to know that we're just talking together about this. And I'm being as sincere as I possibly can be. 31 years in sales, the reason I was successful was honesty and integrity with my customers. That's how I treat this channel. That is my talk for today. It is a recap of everything that's happened. Thank you again to all of the subscribers on the journey. Thank you to the people that have believed in me to make this happen and have gone on the journey with me. And if you're new here, I hope this recap has given you an idea as to why a 47-year-old guy is on YouTube talking daily about what goes on in his life. That's the answers. Have a great day, everyone. Everything is in the description down below. Thank you all. See you in tomorrow's video.